I, Akshara Sharad Madke, am pleased to welcome you all for the inaugural program of the lecture series organized by the Advocates Association of Bombay High Court Bench at Aurangabad. At the auspicious hands of Honorable Shri Justice Ravindra V. Ghuge, Seniormost and Administrative Judge of the Honorable High Court of Bombay, Bench at Aurangabad. And we are glad to have with us Senior Advocate Mr. N K Kakade sir as President of the program. Since our lecture series is starting today, I would like to briefly outline our plans for how we want to run the series in the following year. We have split our lecture series into 3 to 4 sections. First part would be a formal lecture series given by judges and or advocates on legal topics including new legislations and reported judgments. The second part would be a lecture by honorable judges where we would request them to share their story and their journey from bar to bench. Thirdly, a concept of study circle would be introduced. We are intending to arrange group discussions and or contemporary issues that would be crucial to debate. Lastly, for the young members of the bar, we are planning to start advocacy skill development and proficiency training program. Now, today for the first lecture and inauguration of the lecture series, we are glad to have with us Administrative and Seniormost Judge of the Honorable High Court of Bombay, Bench at Aurangabad, Honorable Shri Justice Ravindra V. Ghuge. As a token of appreciation and gratitude, I now request Mr. Avinash Borulkar, President of our association, to felicitate our today's speaker, Honorable Shri Justice Ravindra V. Ghuge, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
न्यायमूर्ती घुगे साहेब, कार्यक्रमाचे अध्यक्ष सिनियर लॉयर काकडे साहेब आणि माझे टीम मेंबर्स, आज आपण लेक्चर सिरीजच्या ओपनिंगसाठी इथे सभागृहात उपस्थित आहोत. हे फर्स्ट लेक्चर आहे. आम्ही कमिटीने असा निर्णय घेतला आहे की नुसतं लेक्चर सिरीज नाही, त्यासोबत दुसऱ्याही 2-3 आम्ही गोष्टी राबवणार आहोत. त्या म्हणजे ग्रुप डिस्कशन आहे आणि एखादा टॉपिक देऊन महत्त्वाचा ज्युनियर्स लोकांना त्यांचं ज्ञान लिगल फील्डमधनं वाढवण्याचा हा उद्देश आहे. तसेच ॲडव्होकसी स्किल डेव्हलपमेंट अँड प्रोफिशियन्सी ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम, म्हणजे त्यांना स्टेज करेल, म्हणजे थोडक्यात कोर्टामध्ये मेन्शनिंग किंवा ज्या काही ज्युनियर लोकांना समस्या प्राप्त होतात त्या संदर्भात त्यांचा न्यूनगंड किंवा भीती दूर होण्यासाठी त्या दृष्टिकोनातून आम्ही हे उपक्रम राबवणार आहोत. तसेच आणि नवीनच उपक्रम म्हणजे नो दाय जज. नो दाय जज म्हणजे जज साहेबांबद्दल, म्हणजे जे जज साहेबांनी जे ह्या स्थितीमध्ये आलेले आहेत, या परिस्थितीमध्ये ज्या स्थानावर जी स्थानापन्न झालेले आहेत, ते या स्थानावर येण्यासाठी त्यांनी आयुष्यात जे काय परिश्रम केले त्या संदर्भात त्यांच्याकडून ते आपण माहिती जाणून घेणार आहोत. अशा प्रकारचा हा कार्यक्रम ठेवण्यात आलेला आहे. तर घुगे साहेबांबद्दल बोलायचं तर ते साहेब त्यांच्याबद्दल ती डिटेल माहिती देतीलच, पण साहेब वकील होते तेव्हा आम्ही त्यांचा आर्ग्युमेंट आणि त्यांचं कायद्यावरील ज्ञान, आघात आणि जे भाषेवरील प्रभुत्व याचा अनुभव घेतलेला आहे. ते आता आपल्याला सांगतीलच की ते घडले कसे. पण ते वकील असताना आम्ही त्यांच्या संवादात आम्ही बी घडलो होतो. त्यामुळे आता पुढील जे आहे ते साहेब आपल्याला मार्गदर्शन करतील आणि आता न्यायमूर्ती म्हणून साहेब विराजमान आहेत, तर त्यांचा देखील तो अनुभव व्यक्त करतील. मी विनंती करतो घुगे साहेबांना यापुढे.
Advocate Shri N K Kakade sir, as President of the Inauguration Program. Sir has completed his law in year 1971 and since 5th October 1971 he is practicing advocate.
मित्र हो, आपले आवडते जज घुगे साहेब, मी आवडते हा शब्द वापरला आहे कारण घुगे साहेबांचा जन्म एक वारकरी कुटुंबात झाला. वडिलांचं नाव विठ्ठल, कारण या घराण्याचा आणि माझा संबंध फार जुना. जेव्हा त्यांच्या आई गेल्या तेव्हा मी भेटायला गेलो होतो. वडिलांशी बोललो मी, सगळ्या पारमार्थिक गोष्टी झाल्या. खरं म्हणजे याच्या अगोदर आजचा कार्यक्रम आपल्या बॉडीने जो ठेवला त्यांचं मी मनापासून अभिनंदन करतो. अध्यक्ष, सेक्रेटरी, त्यानंतर लायब्ररीचे अध्यक्ष यांना मी नमन करतो, कारण असे उपक्रम झाले पाहिजेत. आणि घुगे साहेबाकडून मी 7 मिनटाचा वेळ घेतला आहे. 7 मिनटामध्ये मला जे बोलता येईल ते बोलण्याचा मी प्रयत्न करतो. कोर्टाला आपण न्याय मंदिर असं म्हणतो. न्याय आणि मंदिर, जिथं ज्या मंदिरामध्ये न्याय मिळतो त्याला आपण मंदिर म्हणतो. मंदिर आलं की त्याचे भक्त आले, भक्त आले, संत आले. मग भक्ताचं आणि संताचं काम काय असतं? आज बेंच आणि बार यामध्ये जी दुरावा मला जाणवतो त्याबद्दल मी 2 शब्द बोलणार आहे. वास्तविक पाहता आपण ज्या मंदिरामध्ये जातो त्या मंदिराची स्वच्छता आपण राखली पाहिजे. लोक काही बोलोत, पण आपण आपलं काम केलं पाहिजे. जेव्हा एखादा जज त्या मंदिरामध्ये जज म्हणून बसतो, त्यांना रिस्पेक्ट देणं हे आपलं काम आहे. ते काय बोलतात, काय सांगतात याच्याकडं आपलं लक्ष असलं पाहिजे. आणि मी ज्युनियर कंपनीला आग्रहाची विनंती अशी करतो, जजेस काय बोलतात, तुम्हाला काय विचारतात, त्याचं उत्तर आपल्याला येतं की नाही, नसेल माहीत तर 1 दिवसाचा ॲडजर्नमेंट घ्या, पण त्यांच्या बोलण्याकडे लक्ष द्या. ते न्याय देण्यासाठी तिथं बसलेले आहेत आणि आपण त्यांना देव मानलेला आहे. आपण माय लॉर्ड असा शब्द वापरतो आणि त्याचा आदर आपण सगळ्यांनी राखला पाहिजे. आम्ही सिनियर लोक तर राखतोच, पण ज्युनियर लोकांनासुद्धा माझी विनंती आहे, कारण अनेक घटना मी अशा पाहिल्यात, त्याचा उल्लेख मी 1-2 मिनटात करतो. न्याय मंदिरामध्ये आल्यानंतर आपलं काम जे असतं ते मंदिर म्हणून त्याचा वापर केला पाहिजे. आणि जी देवता बसली ती काय सांगते त्याचं अनुकरण आपण केलं पाहिजे, तर पुढचे कामं लवकर आणि सुरळीत होतात असं माझं स्वतःचं मत आहे. परवा एका वकिलाला मी एवढं सांगितलं, तंबाखू खात होते आणि थुकण्याच्या याच्यामध्ये होते. मला त्यांचं नाव माहीत नाही, परंतु मी त्यांना विचारलं हे काय. त्याने लगेच गायछाप पुडी काढली आणि माझ्यासमोर दिली. मी म्हणाल, अरे मी तंबाखू खात नाही, मला तुम्हाला असं विचारायचे तुमच्या तोंडात काय. मग त्या तोंडामध्ये ती तंबाखू होती. त्यांना विनंती केली की तुम्ही खाली थुंकू नका. त्यांना काय वाटलं असेल मला माहिती नाही. याची काळजी आपण घेतली पाहिजे. लोक काही बोलतात तिकडं लक्ष देऊ नका. आपल्याला जे वाटतं आहे ना, आणि आपल्याला असं वाटतं आहे की मी जे बोलतो आहे करतो आहे ते सत्य आहे, त्याच्याकडे लक्ष द्या. खरं म्हणजे अजून एक उदाहरण मला तुम्हाला असं द्यायचं आहे की वडिलांच्या विरुद्ध पिटिशन असं दाखल झालेलं होतं की त्यांना मेंटेनन्स पाहिजे होता. खालच्या दोन्ही कोर्टाने दिला नाही म्हणून हायकोर्टात ते आले होते. त्या मुलाचे वकील आमच्या ज्युनियरला मी एंगेज केलं होतं आणि इथल्या कोर्टाने त्याला मेंटेनन्स दिला. 2 दिवसांनी त्याच मुलाने मला असा मेसेज पाठवला, आईवडिलांची सेवा हीच खरी ईश्वर सेवा. आता ते वडिलाला सांभाळत नाहीत आणि त्यांनी असा निरोप पाठवला. मला त्याचं आश्चर्य वाटलं. मी त्याला उत्तर दिलं, आता तरी तुम्हाला कळलं आहे, याच्याबद्दल धन्यवाद. मित्र, अशा गोष्टी होत असतात, तिकडं तुम्ही लक्ष देऊ नका ज्या न्यायमंदिरामध्ये. कारण हे बेंच मिळवण्यासाठी आम्ही खूप प्रयत्न केले. त्यावेळेस मी अत्यंत ज्युनियर होतो. त्यापैकी 3 माणसं आम्ही आहोत. मला माहीत नाही वर कधी जायचं आहे ते, परंतु जातानासुद्धा चांगली बुद्धी दे असं मी त्याला म्हणेल. चौधरी, शेळके आणि काकडे आम्ही खूप प्रयत्न केले आहेत आणि ह्या बेंचची शान ही तुमच्या हातामध्ये आहे आणि ही शान तुम्ही नक्की टिकवाल असं मला वाटतं आहे आणि मी तशी अपेक्षा तुमच्याकडून करतो. म्हणून या ठिकाणी मला जे अध्यक्षांनी सांगितलं तुम्ही आलं पाहिजे आणि बोललं पाहिजे म्हणून बोलण्याचा मी प्रयत्न केला. घुगे साहेबांच्या बाबतीत 2 शब्द मला बोलायचे. घुगे साहेब अत्यंत मेहनती माणूस. एकदा त्यांनी हातात घेतलेलं काम, कारण मी त्यांना लेबर कोर्ट आणि इंडस्ट्रियल कोर्टापासून पाहतो आणि त्यांच्यावर जे संस्कार झाले ते त्यांच्या आईवडिलांचे संस्कार आहेत आणि म्हणून इतक्या कमी वयामध्ये हे त्या पोस्टवर गेलेत. मी परमेश्वराला एवढीच विनंती करीन, इथं तू थांबू नकोस, या माणसाला घेऊन तू सुप्रीम कोर्टातसुद्धा जज म्हणून यांची अपॉइंटमेंट कर, अशी मी देवाला प्रार्थना करीन. मित्रहो, घुगे साहेबांना माझी अजून एक विनंती आहे, कारण मी त्यांना बोलू शकतो आहे, सांगू शकतो आहे आणि ते ऐकतील असं मला वाटतं आहे, म्हणून मी बोलतो आहे. घुगे साहेब खूप चांगली मुलं आहेत आपल्या बारमध्ये आणि खरं म्हणजे इतकी चांगली मुलं आहेत आणि खूप चांगलं काम करत आहेत. आणि अशा मुलांचं आपल्या हे बेंच आपल्याला चालवायचं आहे. लक्षात ठेवा, मी पहिल्यापासून बोलतो आहे की हे औरंगाबादचं बेंच आपल्याला चालवायचं आहे. याच्यासाठी मी तुम्हाला विनंती करील, या मुलांचा विचार तुम्ही केला पाहिजे आणि त्या अपॉइंटमेंटसाठी तुम्ही प्रयत्न केले पाहिजेत. आणि तुम्ही जर प्रयत्न केले तर निश्चित यश येईल असं मला वाटतं. पुन्हा मी घुगे साहेबांचे आभार मानतो. मला या ठिकाणी या बॉडीने बोलवलं आणि बोलण्याची संधी दिली, त्याबद्दल मी त्यांचेही आभार मानतो. जय हिंद, जय महाराष्ट्र.
Kakade sir has completed his law in the year 1971, and since 5th October 1971, he is a practicing advocate. He first practiced in Districts and Sessions Court Aurangabad for 17 years, and then since the establishment of this bench, he is practicing in High Court Aurangabad bench, and he has taken a lot of efforts for establishment of our bench. Hence, we are glad to have sir with us today. Now, without taking much time, I would request Honorable Shri Justice Ravindra V. Ghuge sir to share his views on the topic Know Thy Judge.
Today I wish to sound like a person who is one amongst you all, and you have all contributed to my growth and my success. I owe my position today to you all, and I have always been praying to God Almighty that let there be many more judges from this bench, and let this bench be self-sufficient to have judges from the bench, leading the bench and supporting the bench. Shriman N K Kakade ji, who has put in I think 53 years on the bench, at the bar. Shri Vasantrao ji Salunke, the president of the chairman of the Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, and a 4-term bar councillor. Shri Sanjeev Deshpande, learned senior advocate, president of the Bar Association, Shri Mr. Borulkar, the secretary Mr. Gore, the vice presidents, elected office bearers, former presidents of the Bar Association, Professor C.M. Rao, whom everybody knows, and all my dear lawyer friends, sisters, brothers, and young students. This concept of Know Thy Judge has actually come from the Supreme Court. This was not a concept which was taken up by the High Courts initially. It actually fell from the Honorable Supreme Court, where after elevation to the Supreme Court, the Bar Association started arranging for a lecture of the newly elevated judge. And the purpose was to have a close interaction with that judge and to try to know as to what the judge is and what does he intend to do and what has he done earlier. So it's from the Supreme Court that the Know Thy Judge concept has come up, and we are told that this has become a regular feature in the Supreme Court, and every judge feels it as a matter of pride to be amongst the bar members and address all of them. Our Honorable Chief Justice Shri Devendra Kumar Upadhyay ji has been after me for almost a year, and I kept on telling him that let some senior judges come from Bombay so that we can start the lecture series with their lectures. So one day he said to me, "You are now pretty senior. It should start from you now." So the president of the Bar Association prevailed upon me to commence this lecture series, and after I committed myself, it so happened coincidentally that our dear elder brother Justice Nitin Jamdarji, he decided to take an assignment at Aurangabad. So we thought that we could start the lecture with him, because he is now Judge 1 of the Bombay High Court. And he was actually to speak today. What we did was, with consultation with the President, we swapped the dates of the lecture. Though I was to start the lecture today, it was handed over to Justice Jamdar, and I was to take the next Thursday. But then God proposes, man disposes. His Lordship had to leave yesterday evening itself. And his going to Bombay hurriedly has kicked off a few rumors even at Aurangabad. So Mr. Borukar insisted that I should not wait for the next week. And he insisted I should do it today itself. That is how we start today. And I hope that my sister and my brother judges at Aurangabad would have the privilege of being here with you all and have this interaction with you. Now, know thy judge is a phrase which could be thought of from any angle. Know thy judge could mean that you should know what the judge is. Know thy judge could mean you should know how the judge has come here. Know thy judge could mean that you should know what is the mindset of your judge. Know thy judge could be or could mean as to what the judge expects from you. So this is a very mysterious concept, and everyone can think of know thy judge from his own point of view. The normal feeling is that know thy judge means you should know what this man is. And as I interact with you today, I'll delve upon how important it is not only for you to know the background of the judge, but how important it is even for you to know as to what is the mindset of the judge and what does he desire from you. To begin with, I'll start with myself. Born in a family of teachers. Father is a teacher, mother is a teacher. Strictness and discipline came from within the family. Grandparents were strict. Parents were strict. Naturally, we had to face strictness and we had to fall in discipline with whatever could mean for us. And then gradually the strictness flowed even to our children. So how did this journey begin? I had the fortune of being in a place where education has its deep-rooted manifestation. Kolhapur. Kolhapur is a place where people also say Shikshanacho Maherghar, because of the various institutions that are in Kolhapur and the type of education that is imparted. And Kolhapur also has a history of not only creating engineers and doctors and architects, cricket players like Bhausaheb Nimbalkar, Pandurang Salgaonkar, but it also has a thing to boast about of having given many bureaucrats to the country. And Kolhapur also has a distinction of a bureaucrat who appeared for his UPSC exams in Marathi language and was the topper in India despite having answered UPSC exams in Marathi, Mr. Jnaneshwar Mule. So this is what Kolhapur is about. Besides the Tamda Rassa and the Pandra Rassa. There are many more things to Kolhapur. So, born and brought up and educated in Kolhapur probably gave me a boost. My first 6 months with the Chhatrapati Shahaji Law College was a journey on a bicycle. I had a hero cycle with me. And I used to use it even in the Rajaram College when I did my 12th standard in science. And I had every intention of carrying it with me to the Karad Engineering College, where I could have got admission not in a very top level course, but could have managed with maybe electrical or metallurgy. So my father was a little bit happy. He felt that 4 years is the educational curriculum. 5th year I'll get a job somewhere. 6th year I'll get married. And my father's responsibilities would be over. So he accompanied me, or rather I accompanied him, in an MSRTC bus from Kolhapur to Karad, where we went to the college and took the brochure and the syllabus and started submitting the application for admission. And around 2-3 days thereafter, my mother said to my father, "Ki, look what this boy wants to say." So my father said, "What does he want to say?" So my mother said, "At least hear him, see what he has to say." So he said that, "All right, we'll first complete this admission process and everything, and then we will discuss." He thought probably I was talking of leaving home and going to a hostel at Karad. So my mother said, "No, he doesn't want to do engineering." So my father literally jumped from his chair. And his reaction was not very soft. He said, "You don't want to become an engineer?" And the typical Kolhapuri dialogue, "Mag काय मिरच्या विकायच्यात का?" Now that's a typical dialogue of Kolhapur, "मिरच्या विकायच्यात का?" Meaning a person who will not do anything good. So I said that I feel I should join the law course. So he said, from my family, my father's family was a generations of farmers. He was the first educated person who came out of a very small village which did not even have proper toilets. He was the first educated person from his 7 generations that we know. My mother came from a very educated background. She was the 4th educated generation, since my grandfather, Dr. Prataprao Powar, was a Surgeon General of Maharashtra. So she said, "At least hear him. These are young boys." And they were talking of 1985. So she said that, "Look, these are young, sensitive boys. If you talk a little harshly to them, they leave home. There are instances when they just disappear and we have to go searching as to where he has gone. So, घरातनं पळून जाण्याची परिस्थिती आणू नका. ऐकून तर घ्या." So he said, "What do you have to say?" In the typical style of a professor. So I said, "I want to be a lawyer." वेड लागले. माझ्या अख्ख्या खानदानातनं मी पहिला शिकलेला माणूस. तुझ्या आईच्या खानदानातनं 3-4 पिढ्या. वकिली चालते का? So I said, "I don't know why, but I feel I should be a lawyer." So he said, "Who put this thought in your mind?" कोणी शिकवलं तुला हे? तुझ्या सेंट झेवियर्सचा कोणी आहे का हु इज अ लॉयर? वडील त्याचे? Nobody. Then who put this idea in your mind? I said, "I just felt." असं वाटल्याने वकिली चालत असते का? असं वाटलं की माणूस वकील झाला का? तो वकील झाला म्हणजे त्याची वकिली चालली का? Come, I'll take you to the Kolhapur district court and I'll show you how the lawyers and the court function. So I was thrilled. I thought probably this gives me an opportunity that my father would get convinced. So my father had a Lambretta scooter. So he has to drive and I have to sit behind him. So we went to the District Court of Kolhapur, which is a very old building that day. It was in front of CPR, Chhatrapati Pramila Raja Hospital. And we went there, and then my father parked the vehicle and he said, look around you. You see those lawyers? They are standing under the tree. You see those people? They are near that canteen, the chahawala. हे कोर्टात जाऊन काय करत नसतात. असेच बाहेर मस्त मजा करतात, मॅटर एखादं जाऊन चालवतात, बाकीच्या मॅटरमध्ये तारखा घेतात आणि घरी जातात. ही वॉन्टेड टू कन्व्हिन्स मी दॅट आय शुड नॉट जॉईन द प्रोफेशन. सो दिस वॉज फ्रॉम हिज पॉईंट ऑफ व्ह्यू. Then we moved around a little and we found people arguing in court, lawyers addressing the judges. And then he found that probably I am not willing to be convinced. So he said, I'll take you to a friend of mine, a famous criminal lawyer from Kolhapur by name Nanivdekar. Mr. Nanivdekar was a very famous name that time on the criminal side, along with Mr. P.R. Mundargi. These were two names who were like a final word on criminal law. And on the civil side, we still have him, an aged man now, Mr. Kapse. So Mr. Kapse was on the criminal side numero uno, number one lawyer on the civil side. So Kolhapur had its own history of lawyers. So my father said, I'll take you to my friend Mr. Nanivdekar, and we went there. Mr. Nanivdekar gave an appointment at around 9 o'clock in the night. So my father and me went there, and my father said, now you must be packing to go home because it's 9 o'clock. He said, no, I came here at 8:30. So my father said, when do you start your work? He said, I start my work at 8:30, 9 o'clock. So he said, when do you go home? I go home at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. So I was so much late in the night. So Mr. Nanivdekar in his typical unimitable style said, काही कामं रात्रीचीच करावी लागतात. So my father said, what is that type of work that you want to do in the dead of the night? He said, we spend a lot of time in the court, and after court hours, we need some rest. So I go back home, because that time the court hours used to end at 4:30, not like 6:30 at Aurangabad, 7 o'clock at Aurangabad. So he said, I go home, I take my food, I rest for 1 hour, and then I listen to light music so that I feel a little relieved of the tension. And after I listen to the light music, and then it is around 8:30, I decide to come to the chamber. And that is the place where my brain is fresh and it starts thinking as if the day has begun. So my father said, I have brought a person to meet you, my son. And he says he wants to be a lawyer, and I am saying that he should be an engineer and he should not be a lawyer. So he looked at me and said, आपल्या पोरग्याला वकील व्हायचे. टिपिकल मराठी लँग्वेज, आपल्या पोरग्याला वकील व्हायचे. He said to my father, Professor Ghuge, तुमच्या मुलाची जबाबदारी माझ्यावर. त्याला लॉला ॲडमिशन द्यायचं आणि संध्याकाळी माझ्या चेंबरला पाठवायचं. त्याचं ट्रेनिंग आत्तापासूनच सुरू करतो. तुमच्या पोरग्याला चांगला वकील तयार करतो. My father said, I brought him here to so that you will brainwash him not to be a lawyer, and you are trying to brainwash his father, saying why the son should be a lawyer. But this was destiny. With this backdrop, finally my father relented. I took admission to the Chhatrapati Shahaji Law College at Kolhapur, and my first 6 months were on a bicycle. I used to start from the university, and the college was at a distance of around 8 to 9 kilometers. So Those days, young man, young body, driving a cycle was very easy. Today you drive a cycle, you feel fatigue. But in those days, 19, 20-year-old boys, it was very easy for driving a cycle. So I used to drive a cycle and go to the college, and after 6 months, during December vacation, my mother said to my father, saying, ki, have a look at him. He has grown so thin. He drives a cycle and goes to the college, whole day in college, comes back by the cycle. Every day he bicycles to the college. See how thin he is growing. He is looking weak. So my father said, and what do you want me to do to him? He eats proper food. His nutrition is good. He takes his tiffin to the college. He eats the tiffin box. So why do you feel he is looking thin? He says, प्रकृती कशी झाली आहे बघा, असा मृत्यूकड्यासारखा दिसतोय. So my father said ki, yes, you tell me. Gradually you are taking me into the subject. Tell me, what should I do? We'll give him a Luna. So by that time the TVS 50 had come. So my father inquired a little from some of his friends and said, a TVS 50 is good. That is how a TVS 50 came. And my second semester, we didn't have a semester actually. We had one final exam. So I started going on a TVS 50 to the college, and for me it was so pleasant. Instead of driving a bicycle, I was riding a TVS 50. No pedaling to be done, just squeeze the accelerator and in no time you are in the college. So it was a very thrilling experience. After 2 years, I told my father that I want to practice in the High Court. So my father said, your demands are growing. You first wanted to migrate from one faculty to another, then from cycle to a TVS 50. So I did that. He said, look, if you have to practice in the Bombay High Court, I cannot afford. Afford for reasons. My eldest brother was that time in the Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU in Delhi. He was doing his graduation in School of International Studies. Later on, he did his MPhil in China Affairs before getting into the IAS. My elder brother was in the medical college at Bombay, GS Medical College and KM Hospital. He was doing his MBBS graduation. My father said, I am already funding 2 children. I can't fund you. My salary is meager. It is not possible for me. Then he said, do one thing. Your uncle has resigned as a bureaucrat, my mother's elder brother, resigned as bureaucrat, and he has gone to Aurangabad to start his practice. Mr. V.D. Salunke knows my uncle personally. And he said, then you go to him. Go stay with your mama and start practicing with your mama. My uncle, who was a bureaucrat, was finally the Commissioner of Labour Maharashtra when he resigned for a reason. Some policy decision was to be taken, and he had a tiff with Mr. Giras's client. And because of that tiff, he said, I am going to resign. I don't want to work with persons who don't respect the knowledge. And he resigned. He was an MBA as well as an LLB. So some of his friends said, you take up a job in an industry. You are an MBA. Some of his good friends said, don't take up an employment. Because if you become an employee today in a factory with your MBA degree, young MBA graduates who are 25, 30 years old will become your bosses. And you will be finding it difficult to work under young lot. Instead, you have a LLB degree, you are Commissioner Labour, you start your own practice. That is how he came to Aurangabad. And he started his practice, I think, sometime in 83, 84. I came here in 87, 88. So because he was in labour law practice, I joined his office and I also became a labour lawyer. And in those days, the juniorship was supposed to last for something between 5 years to 15 years. There is a saying in Sanskrit which we say in Marathi, Guru vina shishya nahi. So the juniorship started when I was in my third year. And it ended after putting in 3 years at the bar. So around 6 years I did my juniorship. And then I started practicing in the same faculty because I was tutored by a lawyer who was practicing in that one faculty. Now my initial 7.5 years, almost 8 years, I practiced on a motorcycle. I got a motorcycle for me which was that time famously known as a Phatpati. Scooter was a luxury. Phatpati was something like anybody can get it second hand, third hand. I got it second hand. With that Phatpati I started my practice. 7.5 years I practiced. I was going to the Jalna Labour Industrial Courts, Dhule, Jalgaon Labour Industrial Courts, Ahmednagar Labour Industrial Courts, Pune Labour Industrial Courts, most of the times in an MSRTC bus and sometimes in urgency on a Phatpati. Then my mother one day scolded me saying that you should not go to Pune on a motorcycle, that's too much. But one thing I must tell you, that before I purchased my motorcycle, I had purchased my helmet. And believe me, I never kick-started my motorcycle even once without my helmet being on my head. I used to take my helmet to the Labour Industrial Court. I used to take my helmet to the law college. Mr. Rajendra Deshmukh knows me because he was senior to me. My helmet used to come along with me to the law college, and I used to keep the helmet below my chair in the classroom. After the classes were over, a bag in the hand and the helmet in another hand. So this is how I did. What is important is I used the helmet. And then after 7.5 years, 8 years almost, I decided to buy a car. When I practiced in the Labour Industrial Courts, I kept telling myself that if I work hard, I will get some success. If I work more hard, I will get little bit more success. If I work even harder than more hard, probably I'll get recognition. And one professor of the MP Law College sitting here today in our audience, Mr. Shirsat, his father knows me personally. His father has seen me practice on a motorcycle with a helmet. His father has seen me working. Mr. Vasantrauji Salunke has seen me working in the Labour Court. And there were times when the court used to end at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and yet the energy to work hard used to be there. Friends, you are members of my family. I wish to tell you that hard work always pays. And your juniorship, your formative days, even from the time you join the colleges and after joining a college you start doing your internship, believe me, you have to be meticulous from the first day because you must know where you will put a comma and where you will put a full stop. You must know where you will use the articles. You must know where you are supposed to say the and where you are supposed to say the. The spelling is the same. But this comes to you when you work hard and you keep telling yourself that if I work, I will work well. If I am to work well, I will work with meticulousness. If you are to work with meticulousness, you have to be conscious of even a comma, a bracket, a full stop and a hyphen. Because this is going to tell you where you should start your paragraph, where you will end your paragraph. A paragraph should not be 2-3 pages. It's a knack to know where to stop on a paragraph and where to start on a new paragraph, for which you have to be very meticulous. A comma. Where will you put a comma? How will you put a comma? There is a very famous statement which was taught to us in college as regards the importance of a comma. For example, a man without skill is nothing. So if you have to put a comma like a man without skill, comma, is nothing. But if you put a comma like a man, comma, without his skill, comma, he is nothing. The entire meaning changes. It's a complete opposite meaning. Skill is given importance when you say a man, comma, without his skill, comma, is nothing. That skill takes a backseat when you say a man without skill is nothing. The skill loses that importance, that man gains the importance. So these are small, small things. My mentor, my uncle, when I joined his office, told me a few things which I may convey to you, because today we also have students and young members of the bar. This Know Thy Judge is more for the youngsters, but I feel really honored that senior advocates like Mr. Sarunke, Mr. Deshmukh, and many of you, the government pleader, all of you have come here. I really feel honored. Thank you for that. So my senior told me, when you go into the court hall, bow and then enter the court. He said, you are not bowing to a person, you are bowing to the chair. Secondly, never ever show disrespect to the chair, not the human being. The chair, because the judges come and go, the chair is there. Don't show disrespect to the chair. Third, do not tell the court an incorrect thing which the court will come to know and the court will feel you are not dependable. This is a very important aspect in our career. The day a judge says, sorry gentlemen, now I can't rely on you. This is the worst day for a lawyer. A lawyer has to take pride in saying, whatever sentence I utter in court, the judge trusts me, because the judge trusts that I do not show distrust. So these are small things, but which come are so important in your life. My senior told me, never ever utter a sentence in court by which the judge will feel that you are not dependable. One more thing he said to me. There is a difference between interacting amongst friends, interacting amongst lawyers, interacting between lawyers on two sides of the same matter, and a lawyer interacting with a judge. You can fight with your friends. If possible, you may quarrel with your wife. If possible. You must be able to afford that quarrel. You can fight with your colleague lawyer. You can fight with a lawyer opposing you in a case. Do not fight with a judge. Why? Two things. One, does it advance your case? It's not like a cricket match where you can bowl a bouncer to a batsman. You are not supposed to bowl a bouncer to a judge. And secondly, your clients are watching you and the client think for themselves, आमचे वकील साहेब जज साहेबाशी का सारखे सारखे भांडतात? Now you get the importance. One is in your own interest, one is in the interest of your client. So he told me, never quarrel with the court, because quarreling with the court doesn't give you any advantage. In fact, the judge should not form a feeling that a particular lawyer is quarrelsome. So what is it to be done? What is to be done is, be your best in court And how will you be your best in court? Tell yourself, as you kept on telling yourself in college, that I want to impress that girl student. Very sensitive issue. For a young lawyer who is a bachelor, to impress a girl student is the most important task in life when you are in college. So what do? You give her the best impression that you can. You will be in your, as they say, iskitart, shirt and pant. You will be in polished shoes. You will try to speak to her in such a way that she feels, oh my God, this boy speaks so well. So this is what you do to impress something whom you desire. In the court, as my senior used to say to me, behave in such a nice way that you impress the judge and the judge says, this lawyer argues so nicely, let me hear him for 5 more minutes. Rather than thinking, आता कधी बस करतो? These are practical things. You have to be a judge to understand that. Because I was with you for 22.5 years. I am on this side. But the acknowledgement that I can get from all my friends in the bar is, anybody can stand up and say that as an advocate, Advocate Ghuge had never quarreled either with a colleague lawyer or with a judge. Because colleague lawyer then becomes your enemy if you quarrel with him. And why do you have to quarrel? This is not the only case where you both are appearing. There are so many cases in which you appear on both sides. So this is how I try to educate myself. My senior mentored me. My senior gave me certain important principles to be practiced while you practice as a lawyer. And then with hard work, I come to this place. This is only because of the congenial atmosphere available in the bar. If the atmosphere in the bar is so congenial that everybody is competing with himself, everybody is competing with the neighbors, everybody is competing with the opponent, everybody wants to compete in such a way that he tells himself, let me be better tomorrow. Today I am good, let me be better tomorrow. So this is the culture of our bar at Aurangabad, and I can promise you that this is a wonderful bar because I came here in the 9th year. Today I am, when this bar is 43 years, and I have put 34 years, and I find that, as Mr. Kakade said, this bar does have immense talent. This talent you now have to take forward. In the sense, you can't be the 11th batsman in the team. You should bat in such a way that the selector should feel this batsman needs to be elevated. Let him come early in order of batting. Let him be the 10th batsman. Then let him be the 9th batsman, 8th batsman, 7th batsman. Finally, one day the selector feels this is one batsman who must open the innings. And today we have such tremendous senior lawyers amongst us who have put in 30, 40 years. I think Mr. Salunke also must have put in around 45 years, around 43. With such talent available, you have guides, you have mentors, you have philosophers, and you have people who will create a better lawyer from you. This is the purpose of starting this interaction between the judges and the lawyers. The judges are limited. Every 15 days, if you have one lecture of a judge, in 7.5 weeks, 15 judges have spoken to you. Thereafter, the lawyers have to start speaking. And this know thy judge should also be carried up to know thy lawyer friend. Know thy lawyer friend will start when designated senior advocates like Mr. Salunke and so many of us that we have, I am frequently taking his name because he is just before me. You have tremendous talent here, and these lawyers will now start addressing you. For what? Now I come to that portion again. So with this, what I did in life, with the way I worked for myself, with the way I mentored myself and tried to educate myself, I would now come to the stage where you need to know what does your judge mean. And therefore again to that same title, Know Thy Judge. Now this part which I told you is Know Thy Judge from my life story. Now from your side, Know Thy Judge means you must know what type of a judge he is and what does he want from you. Is he a judge who says that, all right, chalta hai? What would happen if your small little mistakes are overlooked? A mistake is like a wound, zakham. If you have a small wound and if you neglect it, it starts growing. The wound grows. After the wound grows, it becomes more troublesome. Still, if you don't correct it, it goes to such an extent that there has to be a surgical intervention. So why is the saying said, a stitch in time saves 9? We have practiced it. If there is a tear in your shirt or in your trouser and you ignore it, the one stitch that has got torn goes to the extent of 2 more stitches, then 3 more stitches, and one day somebody tells you, so you have to desperately go to the tailor, and the tailor says, "Oh साहेब आधी यायचं होतं, वितभर फाटल्यानंतर आला तोय." एका टाक्याचं काम होतं. So this is a part of our life. For a lawyer, for a doctor, for an engineer, for an architect, every professional, competing with yourself is real competition. Telling yourself to be better tomorrow is your real test. And if you are true to yourself, you will keep telling yourself, I must be better tomorrow. Now what does this judge want from you? A judge like me has a lot of expectations from you. And the expectation begins with the first title, Honorable Chief Justice of the Bombay High Court and Phusne Judges of the High Court. Has it not happened in my court? Ask Mr. Girase. I asked the lawyer, read this spelling. Read this spelling. The spelling was so bad that Phusne would also sound better. So I said, this is not the spelling. The spelling is this. And then how will you spell it? So he again looked at it and said, Phusne. I said, all right. No companion judges are Phusne judges. It is Pune judge. That S is silent. Psychology. P is silent. Honesty. H is silent. It will not be honesty. It will not be psychology. It will be honesty and psychology. But if today a judge doesn't tell you, suppose Mr. Vinod Patil is before me, and I don't tell Vinod that, look Vinod, this is a mistake committed by you. He will not realize that this is a mistake because nobody told him. Vague is pronounced sometimes as Wagyu, right? Chaos is sometimes pronounced as Chaos, right? Will anybody dispute? No. These are things because we are not Englishmen. We are Indians. Our mother tongue is Marathi, it is Hindi, it could be Kannada, it could be Tamilian, it could be Telugu, it could be Punjabi. So the long and short of the story is, we are not Englishmen. We are not born with the English language. We have to take a lot of efforts to improve our language. And improvement comes when somebody starts telling you. Improvement will not come when nobody tells you. And who will tell you? A person who likes you, a person who loves this bar, a person who feels that this is my bar, a person who feels that my member of my bar will grow to such heights that I will feel proud that he is from my bar. Only that judge will tell you. So therefore I give examples. A father will scold a son because the father loves his son. A teacher will scold a student because the teacher loves his students. A judge will tell members of his own bar, a judge who loves his bar. And he feels, if today Vinod has said psychology, tomorrow Vinod must say psychology. If today Vinod has said Pusne judge, tomorrow Vinod will say Pune judge. Followed? So this is what we, each of us, have to do with ourselves. You have to experiment with your own self. And what is that experiment? A very, very simple experiment, I may tell you. I did it for myself because fortunately, my father, who was a villager, an absolute villager, and as said by Mr. Kakade, a Warkari. My father never dreamt he could read a book. My father's mother, who was not educated but used to write Oya, and she used to write Oya on Jnaneshwari, she kept on telling my father, Vithala, shalela jaitsu. That is how my father came to college, to school. And what did he do? His school was 13 kilometers away from his shanty village. From there he went to Osmania University because Marathwada did not have a college. And then he came back to this university. He became the first PhD of this university. He became the first lecturer in the university. He became the last Vice Chancellor of the Marathwada University and the first Vice Chancellor of the Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Marathwada University. A person who had not seen a washroom or a toilet till he got married. He had not seen a toilet. This was the condition. So what is it that we have to do? We have to keep telling ourselves that we will now start eliminating mistakes. So when I was teaching at the PG law faculty in the university, I taught for 4 years. Mr. Rajendra Godbole was also with me. Mr. Rajendra Deshmukh was with me that time on a different subject. Dr. Sadhna Pandey was the HOD of the PG department. We used to go voluntarily. My father used to say, "Thoda शिकवायचं काम कर." I voluntarily went there for 4 years. No remuneration, nothing asked for, purely voluntary, and I was teaching labor laws for first and second year. So students came and met me and said, "Sir, how do we improve our language?" I said, "I'll tell you what I did." And I did what my father told me. One English newspaper is to be taken in hand every day. Sit in your own room or sit in, this is for juniors and young students. Sit in your own room or in your study room, close the door. Now you have a dictionary in your mobile phone. Open the newspaper. Start reading loudly from the first page to the last page. Start with the headlines, then start reading with most important news, and then try to read the whole newspaper. Within 1 month, your tongue will start pronouncing words which you read last month in a newspaper. That is typical of our brain. Our brain is I'll tell you, it's a wonder, it's a miracle. Human body is a miracle. They say that around 50 kilometers of nerves are only in our brain. Can you imagine? Our brain has its own faculties. Our right hand knows how to write. Our left hand also knows how to write, but it cannot write because the brain has not commanded the muscles. Start practicing writing with the left hand. In 15 days, you will write as good as your right hand. Because the brain started giving those impulses to the motor nerves and the muscles started accepting the command, they started obeying the command and they started writing with the left hand. This is what our brain can do. Our brain reads the newspapers because you are reading a newspaper. The brain reads it. The brain captures the new words. Sine qua non. Sine qua non. Nobody knows. How do you do it? Sine qua non I know because I read. Then you have to put it in normal words. Inescapable conclusion. Try to pronounce it fast. Inescapable conclusion. The tongue stumbles as you stumble on a speed breaker. Start practicing it. In half an hour, your tongue will start saying inescapable conclusion. That is sine qua non. One day while addressing the court, you will realize that you have used a word, my lord, this is a sine qua non in law. And then you think, how did I use this word? I had earlier never read this word. How did I use it? Because your brain has started reading words unknown to you, and gradually as you start reading those words become familiar to you. As they become familiar to you, the brain stores those words in its hard disk. And the brain starts using those words casually. You don't even realize, how did I use the word? And then you feel, well, I think my language is improving. With the improvement in language, you know where to put the comma. Like addressing the court, my lord, during the pendency of this civil application to bring the legal heirs on record, my lord died. So you put the wrong words, or rather you put the right words at the wrong place. You wanted to say, my lord, during the pendency of the petition, the petitioner died. Therefore, my lord, I have filed this civil application to bring the legal heirs of the deceased petitioner on record. But then what happens is, and therefore, my lord, in order to bring the legal heirs of my lord on record, the petitioner died. Purely homework, nothing more to that. Each one of us, as Mr. Ambadas Joshi used to always say, don't have to use the best language like Parsis in the Bombay High Court or Britishers or British lawyers. You don't have to use that type of a language. Use simple language which is grammatically correct. The language should be grammatically correct. That's all. You don't have to use, flowery language. Whatever you speak in short sentences and be grammatically correct. My lord, this is a petition seeking writ of mandamus. Full stop. My prayers are set out in prayer clause A, B and C. Full stop. Now I will read my prayer clause A to you. Read the prayer clause. Full stop. It becomes so easy. Short sentences, grammatically correct, and perfect delivery. Now, I am telling you this because I did it for myself. We are all Maharashtrians, we are Marathi people. The students before us could be from different states. We have our own baggage with us. We have our own language with us. We have our own difficulties in mastering some language. My only proposition is, the language of the court is English. The drafting is in English. The case law are published in English journals, and you have no option but to use English. So tomorrow if you go to the Supreme Court and start arguing a matter, you will have to use only one medium of instruction. So if that is your goal, that someday I will start appearing in Supreme Court, you will have to master a few things for which you will have to become perfect. This is what this judge expects from you. So this is know thy judge for you, what your judge wants you to do and what your judge expects from you. So this is know thy judge from your point of view. So I think, enough? Yes. Okay. Now the last issue about our young members of the bar and the would-be members of the bar. Many law students are here. Very soon they would be joining the bar. So something for them. While you address a court, or even when you address your colleague lawyer, suppose your lawyer says something. Suppose Amarjit Singh Girase says to Vinod that this is this. And Vinod says, no, you're wrong. So Mr. Girase will say, अरे जरा प्रेमानं बोल ना. थोडं मी फक्त तुला सांगितलं तर तू एकदम माझ्यावरती हसकलाच. So when you interact with each other, if you interact in a rough language, what impression does it create? It creates an impression that you are not happy in talking to that man. कशाला पाहिजे? कोणी सांगितलं? Sort of. So when you are in court and you are asking for, you are making a request for keep back. By the way, requesting the court to keep back a matter is actually a request. Because sometimes some lawyers in their exuberance, they say, Lordship. So I naturally say, yes, keep back. So then because for me this is an opportunity. Believe me, after I leave Aurangabad, I am not going to take pains to tutor anybody outside Aurangabad. I do this only because I belong to Aurangabad. I am yours, you are mine. And this is my bar. So, all my efforts are Aurangabad bar centric. Meant for you, only for you, and none other than you. This is my attitude. So you may take it that this is my farewell program. You may take it that this is my farewell speech. But in this farewell speech, I will tell you, whatever I may have told you, whatever I may have tried to correct you, it is because of my interest. माझा स्वार्थ आहे तुम्हाला लोकांना सांगण्यामध्ये. तो स्वार्थ हा आहे की तुम्हाला मी काही गोष्टी सांगितल्यानंतर जर तुमच्याकडून त्या जर इम्प्रूव्ह होऊन आणखीन सुंदर झाल्या तर ह्याच्यात माझं यश आहे. तुम्ही चांगले होणार असाल माझ्या एखाद्या टिपनी तुम्हाला दिलेल्या एखाद्या टिपनी, तर हे माझं यश आहे, माझं सक्सेस आहे. तुम्ही चांगले झाला तर त्याचा स्वार्थ मला आहे की मला आनंद झाला. जसा माझ्या सिनियरला मी चांगला होत गेलो तर त्यांना आनंद होत गेला, असं आहे. सो वेन यू स्टँड बिफोर अ कोर्ट अँड यू से while mentioning, my lord, give me circulation tomorrow. All right, you have made a request. When I used to stand before the court, I used to say, with your lordship's permission, may I mention a writ petition for an urgent admission? Simple language. The court will say, yes, what is the urgency? My lord, the urgency is this. All right, next Monday. Had I said, my lord, I want urgent circulation, how lordship is not giving urgent circulation? The court will say, all right, you come in the next month. Same with kickback. Same with colleagues. There is a saying in our fraternity, you must not only be courteous to the court, you must be courteous to your colleagues also. The colleagues must feel you are not fighting with them. So he says, you wait. He says, you first wait. Why? Why? He's senior. He's for the petitioner. Let him complete. I am the respondent. If I want him to have patience to hear me, I must have patience to hear him. If I allow him to complete, he will not allow me to complete. That's how it is. So for the juniors, I would say, simple things which you will practice in simple language with a very simple intention. The intention is that when I make a request to the court, let the court be pleased rather than the court being angry. Like, today someone told us, issue notice. So we told him, don't tell us what we should do. Your duty is to argue, our duty is to pass an order. So whether we issue notice or dismiss or issue notice and grant relief, that is our domain. You only tell us what you want to say. So what happens is, you must practice very small things. This is for all the juniors. Small things when you address the court and say, my lord, in the light of these facts, may I urge your lordship to issue notice? ऐकायला बरं वाटते की नाही? Instead of saying, my lord, issue notice. Instead of saying, my lord, keep back. म्हणजे मागे ठेव. Instead of that, if you say, my lord, my senior is held up in so and so court, may I request for a kickback? आम्हाला फार आनंद होतो. आणि आनंद हा स्वाभाविक आहे. तुम्ही वकील असताना सुद्धा समजा तुम्हाला कोणी म्हटलं, विनोद सर, ते मागं ठेवा मॅटर. विनोद सर म्हणतील तू गेला उडत, आता चालवूनच दाखवतो. आणि त्याच्याऐवजी विनोद सर, माझे सिनियर त्या कोर्टामध्ये आहेत, तुम्हाला एक रिक्वेस्ट करू का हो, मला जरा सपोर्ट करता का किकबॅक करायला? विनोद सर म्हणतो, अरे हा केवढा गोड बोलला माझ्याशी. म्हणजे फक्त आडनाव गोडबोलेच असलं पाहिजे असं नाही आहे. आपण प्रत्येकजण गोड बोलू शकतो. आणि तेवढं जर गोड बोललं तर विनोदला वाटतं, अरे हा यंग ज्युनियर आहे यार, हा एवढा गोड बोलला मला, आता जर मी ह्याला हटकलं तर ह्याला सिनियरकडनं रागवलं पडेल. हा काय मागतोय, मला किकबॅक करून द्या म्हणतोय फक्त. सो सिम्पल. सो ज्युनियर्स मस्ट कॉन्शियसली प्रॅक्टिस अँड seniors must consciously interact with the juniors, and for which spend some time with the juniors. Seniors must spend some time with the juniors in the sense, twice a week, let it something be called as a bauddhik. Justice Ambadas Joshi used to practice this bauddhik, and Justice Khande Parkar, who came from Goa to us, he used to also say that we must practice bauddhik. What is bauddhik? Once in 3 days, 4 days and twice a week, sit with your juniors at particular time and ask them, शेवटचे 2-3 दिवस कसे राहिले? How did you feel? How was your experience? And then interact with them. And then one will say, sir, I went to the court and I said, Lordship, I want time. And the Lordship said, go call your senior. असं का घडलं असेल? Then the senior can say, अरे, ask for time म्हणजे request the court to keep back the matter किंवा adjourn the matter. You are not going there to command the court. इथे तू चुकला, पुढच्या वेळेला तू असं बोल. Followed? That this is bauddhik. So this is to be done just by way of a practice, and this is on the farmaish of the bar president that I am taking up this topic, that the juniors must be told to become more polished and speak in court in such a way that the court feels, yes, the junior bar is really developing. And this is what judges want from you. This is what a judge like me expects from you. At times, I have scolded you. But now look here, in another 2 years I'll be 60 years old. Am I young? No. If I'm growing old, is it not my duty to tell my youngsters how they should correct themselves and how better they should be? It is only from this point of view. कोणालाही दुखवायचा उद्देश नाही. माझ्या मनात तो कोणाला दुखवायचा उद्देश येणार नाही. अन्यथा मलाच त्याचा त्रास झाला असता. मी जर कोणाला ठरवून दुखवायचा जर प्रयत्न केला असता, त्याचा त्रास मलाच झाला असता. I never thought of that. So this is Justice Ghuge, know thy judge for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Advocate Akshara. We are now at the end of this inaugural session. I, Advocate Nasim Banu Deshmukh, consider it to be my privilege to have this opportunity to express my gratitude to all of you on this auspicious occasion of inauguration of this lecture series today. On behalf of our Bar Association, I express my deep gratitude to Honorable Justice Shri Ravindra V. Ghuge, Administrative Judge of Bombay High Court, Bench at Aurangabad, for his presence and valuable guidance to us. Thank you, sir. So also, I express my thanks to Senior Advocate of our Bar, Mr. N K Kakade, sir, for his valuable presence. I express my special thanks to all the Senior Advocate and all designated Senior Counsel for their valuable time. I express my thanks to Deputy Solicitor General of India, Advocate Shri Ajay Talhar sir, and special thanks to Government Pleader, Advocate Amarjit Singh Girase sir. I thanks to all the members of Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, all the advocates, college students, professors who have shown their active participation in today's event. I thanks to whole technical team and media for their support. Last but not least, I thanks to all the office bearers of association for their efforts to make the success of this program. Once again, I thanks to all of you from the core of my heart with a little announcement that we have arranged a tea program for all of you to have a tea. Thank you.